Well, the Clinton camp is referring to the meeting as a working session on terrorism and national security, and it comes as 32 more military officers come out in support of Donald Trump. Pete Hegseth is a veteran of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, author of In the Arena, and a Fox News contributor. Montana Congressman Ryan Zinke is a retired SEAL team leader, ground force and task force commander, and a member of the Armed Services Committee. Good to have both of you here. Congressman, I'll start with you first. We have seen an outpouring of support from the military community for Donald Trump. Who do you see best fit to lead this country as far as foreign policy and the fight against ISIS?
Well, I think what we saw in the Commander-in-Chief forum was she's scrambling when she discloses we're not going to put troops in the ground in Iraq. We have troops in the ground in Iraq. We're not going to put troops in the ground in Syria. We have troops in the ground in Syria. She doesn't recognize that there was loss of life in Libya. And quite frankly, her greatest achievement as Secretary of State was fundraising for the Clinton Foundation and meeting with senior military advisors. I think she needs to meet with them and listen because what she's saying is not incumbent on a commander-in-chief. And quite frankly, you know, the number of lies that she says, it's a web. And I don't think she can remember all the lies that she has said to the American people.
You know, Pete, those comments about not having ground forces in Iraq and never, ever having... Obviously, we do have ground forces in Iraq. What did the military community, what is the reaction that you hear from the military community when you hear a remark like that? And her camp really trying to walk back those comments today.
A statement like that is the continuation of the foolishness of the Obama administration, which tells our enemies exactly what things we won't do in attempting to defeat them. And it shows you that Hillary Clinton really hasn't learned any of the lessons of this administration that have led to carnage and chaos around the Middle East. And she's responsible for it. And the only thing she can point to, or her surrogates can point to, is being part of the precursor to an Iran deal that's enriching one of our enemies and emboldening them in the region. So she hasn't learned the lessons, just like she never learned the lessons of Iraq. She was against the Iraq surge and then for the pullout. You know, General Petraeus, who she's meeting with, won that war. She fought against the very tactics he used to be successful. So her background can't be defended, regardless of who she meets with.
And Congressman, some unbelievable revelations in this latest Fox News poll as we are about to see 15 years since 9/11. Fox News asked you, are we safer today than before 9/11? 54% of respondents said they feel less safe today than they did then. Your take?
I think that's correct. You look at, we know that ISIS is here. The war overseas, which many of us fought to make sure it stayed overseas, is no longer, you know, confined to the Middle East. It is in America. We've seen it in Orlando. We've seen it in San Bernardino. And unfortunately, we're likely to see it again. The world is not as safe as what it was, primarily because these vacuums have been formed and the vacuums have been filled. In the case of the South China Sea with China, the vacuum in Ukraine and Crimea with Russia, and finally the vacuum in the Middle East, which is in chaos, and even Turkey has been under enormous pressure and to a degree less stable than it was just a few years ago.
You know, Pete, you and I have talked often about Hillary Clinton. She speaks often about she's got the experience as Secretary of State, that she would be the best fit to be president and lead us in this fight against ISIS and foreign policy. Donald Trump says, I'm going to surround myself with the best leaders. We know that more military leaders are coming out endorsing Donald Trump. Are you, sir, confident that Donald Trump will surround himself with the right people?
I think so.
Absolutely.
He's done that in business. He's done that so far. And, you know, these meetings that are happening right now, Donald Trump's got his generals. Hillary Clinton's meeting with people. Hillary Clinton's meeting effectively with the sort of Council on Foreign Relations internationalist perspective. And Donald Trump is competing with more of the America First. Not isolationism. I'm not in for that. People aren't in for that. But this belief that we crush our enemies, we defend our borders, we maintain our interests, we keep our shipping lanes free, we invest in our military and modernize and build it, and not hope international institutions are going to save us. That's a contrast of this election. The American people have quite clearly shown they'd like to put American interests first as opposed to globalist interests. And so I think these meetings only reinforce that optic. And the Commander-in-Chief Forum did as well, where Donald Trump said, hey, I want to defeat our enemies and rebuild our military.
Congressman, I got to leave it there, but last word to you.
Well, I think he's right. I agree with all the above. At the end of the day, this is an election about America, and we should put America first. We're a great country, and we need to maintain that.
All right, Congressman Zinke, Pete Hegseth, good to see you both.